Welcome to the Mom Owned and Operated Podcast, the podcast about moms and for moms, where we have candid conversations about running a business, raising a family, and remembering ourselves. I'm your host, Rita Suzanne, a single mom of four, digital strategist, and provider of no-nonsense business strategies and tactics. Hi, I'm Rita Suzanne, and today I have my guest, Allison Nelson, with me. Allison, thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to getting to know more about you, your business, and your family. Please tell us all about all the things.
Sure. So I am a business strategist and a group coaching expert. So I help female coaches get better results for their clients in group coaching programs. Whether that means you haven't started one because you've been intimidated by it and you've just been doing one-to-one, or you did start one and didn't love it for whatever reason and you decided it wasn't for you, but you still want to scale your business. That's what I do. So I am a mom of a little girl. She's 6 and we live in Connecticut, and that's it.
That's it. Well, yeah. I mean, that's enough, right? Like I always say that, when you have just a single child, sometimes I feel like I have 4, but when you have just one, I feel like it's maybe sometimes a little bit harder. Some people think it's easier, but that child just relies on you for all their entertainment.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, I do. I mean, I'm an only child myself, so I've been fielding that forever.
Yeah.
It literally feels like since the beginning of time for me. And so, yeah, there's pros and cons to having 4 kids, and same way there's pros and cons to having one.
Exactly.
And yeah, there is that element of like, she goes to the playground after school, for example, with her friends, and they're all like, we gotta go. We can't stay out here all the time. And I'm like, I can stay out here forever because I'll just bring her home and she'll play outside and be by herself. Like that wouldn't be good. So.
Right. Exactly. Well, and then, so tell me, what was your path of becoming an entrepreneur? How did that all start?
Yeah. So when I had my daughter, I had been working in education. I was working in high school, and I ended up not going back to that job because they wanted to be flexible with me before I had the baby. And then after I had the baby, that was a different story. And so at that point, my husband said, you know what, just stay home and be with her. So about a year later, he and I started an e-commerce boutique, and we sold t-shirts and mugs and all of that stuff. But what I found, someone told me to start a Facebook group because that would be a good way to get like VIP customers. And so I had so much fun with the Facebook group, like way more fun with the Facebook group than with like actual business. And I think it showed. I mean, a lot of people were interested in the products, but more interested in how I had a business with a 2-year-old and how I had a business with my husband. We were partners, and what I do first and how I time manage and all of that stuff. And so I started answering those questions, and I started realizing I have a counseling degree and I was in education, and I felt like coaching was just the right next step for me. So I tried to do them both at the same time, help people with their business and run my own. But when the pandemic hit, it just did not make any sense to do both. And so we ended up just moving on with the coaching. And so that was sort of my step in.
And who do you help primarily with your business?
Yeah. So at first, when I stepped in, I really wanted to help women who were starting their business, who had been kind of like working on it on their own, but really were really starting to get frustrated with not getting results. So maybe they were in business for 1 to 3 years, coaches, service providers. And I noticed that a lot of people were so obsessed with this 10K month, the 10K month, the 10K month. And I was like, if you can make $300 a month, that's something that can be duplicated to, $600 or $900 a month. And then we can talk about the 10K once you get to 1 or 2K. So I created this group program called Fast Track to 4 Figures. And it was all about just getting to 4-figure monthly income, because the 10K just felt like it was holding people back. It was just like, no one can really start to see the result of 10K when they don't even know if they can do 1K.
Right. Because it feels so far away. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was my thing for a couple of years. And, a lot of people that I worked with wanted to create their own group programs while they were with me or after they were with me. And I just felt like I really was called to helping them with the group program aspects, like literally the inside of what happens in a group program, because nobody really talks about that. Group coaching is actually a discipline. And my certification is pending in group coaching next month. And I remember doing it in grad school for counseling and doing it in high schools with kids, different kinds of kids and stuff. And I was like, man, it really is an art that a lot of people are not really tapping into. We could get our clients better results and then therefore make more money. And it just so happened that with the pandemic, I think a lot of people are looking to get real results. And not just kind of like throw money at every course and program and workbook that they can. And so I really felt that call to like go inside people's groups and help them with that. So my ideal client has shifted a bit. I still work with female coaches, really just people who want to coach though.
Yeah. But how does that work? So you say you go inside of the group. Are you going in and like kind of helping them with how things are working, or how does it like, tell me more. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, there's about 3 things that I focus on. So the first one is facilitation style. So how you're running your group calls in particular. A lot of times we run calls based on a Q&A session. That's actually very ineffective for adults. And we're typically serving adults in this case. And it's pretty ineffective. So looking at how you can facilitate versus how you can be in control of the call, because it's really about the clients being in control of the call and you facilitating their growth. And then the second thing I like to look at is the modules or learning or whatever the education side of your program is, and making sure that it's pointed towards adult learning. It's really helping them grow as adults. A lot of times we don't consider adult learning theory when we're creating modules. We know what we know and we want to put it out there and we have a whole plan for it. And that's great. But a lot of times it just doesn't, an adult will watch a module and then not know what to do after. So trying to help make that a little bit, more effective. And then the third thing, really making sure that the community is there, that the clients are really talking to each other, they're helping each other, and there's psychological safety there, so that they can grow. And again, taking less time and effort from you because you really are just a facilitator. You've done all of the vetting and onboarding and all of that. So now it's time to make sure that they can, kind of help control their own growth a little bit.
I love all of that. That sounds so helpful, because a lot of my clients, they would start out with, in the past when I was working as a web designer, they would start out with just, doing one-to-one coaching, and then they would want to scale up. And so they would always want to do group coaching, but it always seemed to kind of flounder with some people. And do you think that's just based on how they're running the group, or maybe how they're offering their programs?
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple reasons. It could be onboarding or vetting, right? Like there's definitely some people that just don't, that it just doesn't work for, in terms of the clients. But I do think that it's mostly, okay, how are we making sure that the calls are valuable? I mean, a lot of times you'll see people drop off halfway through, right? They're like all in, they're so excited. Everything's on their calendar. They printed everything out. And then third call, they've dropped. And that's it. You can't get them back. And that has a lot to do with the fact that they're not valuing the call. And it could also be that they're overwhelmed. So it really depends on what's going on. And is there kind of a Hail Mary? Like, is there a space for them to say, you know what, I'm struggling, or I'm stuck, or I got the stomach flu this week, because that happened to me this week. And I need to, I need to get back, but I don't know how. Like, is that built in for them?
So if someone wants to hire you, what is the process? Like, what does onboarding look like when they hire you?
So the first thing we'll do is sort of an audit of their group program. I like to make sure that that's in place. So when anybody starts to work with me, we make sure we do an audit, whether the group program is not even going anymore and it was just an idea, or you've just done one-to-one, any length of time. So I've got like some pre-work so that I can audit what's going on. And then we dive into those three aspects. I have a method called the inside out method. And we can do that in a VIP day setting, depending on what the goals are of the client. Or we can do that in a 90-day period. So obviously the goals would have to be,
stretched out.
Yeah.
So why do you think that your clients love working with you so much?
I've always been the kind of person in general, and I bring it into my business, that I'm very honest. And I think that people really respect that. Obviously, it has to be the right kind of person, but I think the clients who have done well with me respect my honesty. They can take it. They also know that I'm just as compassionate as I am honest. So it's not for, it's not just because I'm hurting and I need to hurt someone. It's because I really, truly I want the best for you and I want you to get there faster.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I always call myself, I say that I'm no nonsense or no sugarcoating. And I think that a lot of times people need to hear those type of things. And often they're too close to the problem. And so if you aren't willing to be really totally honest with them, then they're not going to be able to move forward. And that's why I say, for me, when I hire coaches, I want someone that's kind of very much not going to let me get by.
Right.
Right. With my excuses, right. With excuses of
Yeah.
why I can't or won't do something. And
Right.
so I think that it takes somebody strong-willed to really get in there and tell me stop your shit and basically do what you're supposed to do. Right.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I totally agree.
So what is your favorite thing about what you do?
Oh my God. I think my favorite thing is that, especially with group coaching, it's just the impact, the fact that someone can be helped and make money because of something that I helped them discover. And it's really just they had the answer the whole time. It's like Glinda and the Good Witch and the Wizard of Oz. You were there the whole time. You had the answer the whole time, kind of thing. I think that's probably the best thing about what I do is when people can discover that, and then they can help their clients discover that too.
Yeah, I love that because, empowering other women just makes us all, grow and be better.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we're going to go back a little bit off topic, but I want to know, what are you currently reading or listening to?
Right now I'm listening to it and reading it, Profit First. I've gotten to the point in the book where you have to do things, and I'm better with pen and paper when I have to do things. I want to write in the book, but at first I listen to it. So I technically own 2 copies of this book.
So there's a course that they had, and it was $25. I'll see if I can find it for you, but it helped me to listen to him and follow the course more so. I mean, you may like it better audio, but listening and watching him go through the concepts of it was really super helpful.
Yeah.
But I love that. I love the concept of it and the book itself. So I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, it's a great concept. Yeah.
Is one of my favorites. So if another mom was going to start her business and she came to you and she asked you for some advice, what would you tell her?
Oh my gosh. There are so many things that I could tell her. I think I would tell her that anything that she does, she needs to make sure she's, good with it. She's making decisions. I just wrote an email this morning about how you could be making $1 in your business or less. You're still the CEO, and you still have to start making decisions and being decisive right away. Because that's honing that and building that muscle of making decisions and being that CEO is only going to get harder if you don't start doing it now. So.
Yeah, I feel like when I first started, there was a lot of people pleasing, right?
Yeah.
And then, as you start to get into your business and get more into it, that's when you start establishing the boundaries and making the really tough decisions. But I feel like at first we're both, we're all just stuck in that little okay, well, I have to do everything that they asked me to do, and I need to be happy about it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's something to be said for, kind of being in the trenches and doing the things that you don't know if you like it or not. There's something to be said for that for sure. But I think that if you if you're just doing things just to make money or if you're holding back because you're not sure, if someone will, receive it well or how it will fare, that we don't know that unless you try it. So, I mean, just try it, try it, but also make sure that there's you in it and someone else didn't tell you, do this exactly this way, because it's a plug and play is no longer that might have worked 5 years ago. It just doesn't work anymore.
No, things have changed so much. I think especially after COVID, of course, the market is just so different. And, I had taken a little bit of a break during COVID because of all my issues. And then now coming back into it and changing from being a service provider to being doing products only it's a huge difference. And, it's a huge mindset change. Did you feel like that when you switched from products to servicing groups?
Yes. Yeah, I really did. Yeah. I also, again, to the point of, I realized I didn't have to sell products in order to, to start servicing people. And I think it's the other way around, right? You don't have to be a service provider to sell products, and it's okay. I think that we kind of hang on to these old stories. And it can be really damaging. But yeah, I definitely had all the things well, what will people think? What will people say? They just think I'm some person calling myself a coach out of nowhere. And I called myself a strategist because I am more strategy based. Yeah. And of course we do work on mindset, but I am more okay, this is, what we're going to try. And I'm more action oriented that way. And so I did feel like people were going to be oh, you were making mugs yesterday and you're a coach today. What will you be tomorrow?
Right. But as long as you stuck with it, right?
I stuck with it, and so I'm finding my way just like everybody else. I mean, I don't think anybody has to apologize for that.
No, I love all that. So where can everyone find you? Where are you online?
Okay, so I have a podcast. It's called the Group Coaching Masterclass. So if you are interested in group coaching at all, every week there's a masterclass episode. So you can find that on any of the platforms. And I'm on Instagram at the Allison Nelson. And I'm on Facebook too, same at the Allison Nelson.
Perfect. Yeah. And did you say you have a website, or you do?
I do, yes. It's allison-nelson.com.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for being a guest. It was such a pleasure getting to know more about you.
Yeah, it was good. Thank you so much. It was fun.
And there you have it. I want to encourage you to remember that being a mom who runs her own business is not easy. We all struggle, but just keep moving forward and don't forget to make time for yourself. As moms, we are usually the first thing to go to the bottom of the list. If your business is overwhelming you and you need real solutions, not just some sugar-coated suggestions, apply to work with me at ritasuzanne.com/apply.